All right, everybody. I'm excited to be with you guys today and more excited to have Dr. Jeff Styba with us today. And many of you might know him who have attended some of our workshops that we've had him fly in, and he was gracious to come and teach you guys. And he's been a mentor for me in many aspects of life and just a great guy. And I'm really excited to bring you on, Jeff, today. Has been an expert, I know, in plant-based medicine. And for those of you watching, is to share some valuable information I know he's got in store for us that we can do to take care of our bodies during this time and this pandemic. And lastly, share some fun things that maybe we can provide for you that we're doing with our families. So Dr. Jeff, thanks again for joining us today. I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, man. It's an honor, dude. We were just talking before this, like it's been a long time since we connected. So it's good to see you and good to help out and bring some value to your audience.
Yeah, seriously, it's been too long to talk to you, and just grateful to have you on. And I know that some folks listening today don't even know really probably who I am, but more importantly, who you are. Would you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yeah. So first, I am. Between my wife and I, we've been married for coming on 3 years, but between the two of us, we have 5 children from ages of 22 months to 21 years old. So we've seen just about everything as far as like health conditions through the years. And then I was a chiropractor in Minnesota. I'm retired now, and for 7 years. And now my wife and I, we really teach about plant-based medicine, and essential oils is our vehicle, because one of the most powerful things, like when I first got into oils, was that this is like the only form of medicine that has never changed. So it's like all the pharmaceuticals and all the medications are always coming out with new ones, new vaccines, new drugs, new treatments. And essential oil chemistry has always been the same since the beginning of time. And they've been used in the earliest written records that we have, from like ancient Egypt to Ayurvedic medicine to the earliest written records in Asian cultures. And so it's such a powerful tool to use. And I know you guys have been using it for your family for years too, and with your patients. But it's like, if you're not using plant-based medicine, if you're not using essential oils, you're missing out on a huge aspect of health and empowerment and vitality. So that's really our passion, is to teach doctors and then their patients about really how to use these things properly, so you get really, really predictable results.
I agree. And I think that's the biggest confusion, is people, don't know the health benefits to an oil beyond just the smell. And then the biggest question I get is, how do you use them? Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things you and I were talking about that we felt that we could add value to everyone listening today was just some of the tips that you had, that you're using right now during the pandemic to take care of you and your body. And to kind of jump into it, what are you guys doing right now?
Well, it's interesting because I got that question in an email a couple of weeks ago, and I made a video on this on our educational platform on Facebook, is My Oil Lab. We do all our videos. So I got a direct message from a gal, and she said, during this pandemic, what are you guys doing differently than you usually do? And my answer was, we're really, honestly, like as far as the essential oils and the adjustment, like we're getting adjusted more. And the oils that we're using are the same oils that we've been using for the last 10 years, 13 years during the winter, because during the winter, there's always the threat of the flu. There's always the threat, there's less vitamin D. We're from the Midwest in Chicago, so we don't get out in the sun as much. So every winter, we always do the same thing, and that hasn't changed. We just have continued, because I want to go into some of the research on some particular oils that we do daily for supporting our immune system, because this was published in 2013 from Johns Hopkins. And this protocol actually saved my nephew's life when he was 5 days old. He had a 105.5 degree fever, a massive E. coli infection that was causing a severe case of meningitis. And E. coli is a gram-negative bacteria. And the research shows that oregano and thyme kill gram-negative bacteria very readily. And so we used that, and we saved his life with using essential oils, because pharmaceuticals and antibiotics that they were prescribing him, they did IV antibiotics for 30 days. There was IV antibiotics do not cross the blood-brain barrier. They don't get into the spinal canal. So you have to use something else. And had it not been for the molecules that are in these specific essential oils, he likely would have passed away. So during this time, like daily through the winter, we're always using oregano and thyme because that covers the gram-negative bacteria. For gram-positive bacteria like staph, strep, MRSA, I mean, everybody, who doesn't know somebody that doesn't have like strep throat during the winter?
Yeah.
Kids are missing school and they have a sore throat and all the things. Cilantro is the most effective oil against gram-positive bacteria, so like staph, strep, MRSA. And then we always add clove because clove essential oil has a molecule called eugenol, and eugenol is the molecule that decreases the virality of viruses. So virality meaning the ability of that virus to replicate and also to spread. So, and then also de-envelopes the virus. So eugenol in clove oil de-envelopes viruses. So it's very, and then we always add frankincense to it. So those are the 5 oils. Frankincense is like the toddler Jesus oil. It's one of the most historic oils. It has so many benefits. So we always do those 5. So we do clove, cilantro, oregano, thyme, and frankincense. And we put like 25, 26 drops of each in a roller bottle. And we use that on the bottom of our feet at least a few times a week. And then if anybody in our family is having symptoms, then we do it 3 times a day to make sure that those molecules are in our bloodstream consistently until we're better, which is always like a couple days. So that's what we're doing on a weekly and daily basis to protect our body, protect our immune system, to support our body's natural ability to fight viruses and bacteria so that we build that immunity and we don't allow a virus that we're not immune to yet to wreak havoc in our body. So it's, that's what we always do. So nothing has really changed there.
And I always have kind of pictured this in my head where, obviously we have our natural innate immunity that's designed to, ultimately kill viruses and ultimately help protect us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I look at oils is kind of like another country that is on your side that has come join forces with you, that takes you from an army of 300 to like several 100,000. And all of a sudden you're arming yourself with more swords, more body armor, and help fight this off. So and you could probably hit on this, and maybe the word kind of comes like a cofactor kind of ability, if you will. And as far as de-enveloping the virus, and what's your opinion on Cassia? I don't even know if I'm saying that right, because that's one oil, I can't remember why, but out of nowhere, it just kept coming across. And I think for gram-negative or positive, I'm sorry. And it was another oil that we love to add on top of what you had just mentioned too. And not to mention, it's very fragrant. One of my favorite oils as of late. But what's your opinion on adding Cassia to that?
Yeah, you can add Cassia. Cassia has molecule trans-cinnamaldehyde. So Cassia is like the baby sister to cinnamon for people that don't know. So cinnamon is distilled from the bark of the cinnamon plant or the cinnamon tree, and then Cassia is distilled from a different part of the plant. So it's not as potent as cinnamon. It just has a little bit of different chemistry. But for pathogens, Cassia, like the aroma is amazing. The problem with like the clove, or I'm sorry, the cilantro, thyme, and oregano, those are like hot oils that you smell like an Italian restaurant, Yeah. So if you add Cassia to it, you're getting added benefit, but then you're also getting a much more pleasant aroma.
Yeah, and honestly, that's probably our most favorite part about it. Adding it kind of covers, and like cilantro, I love eating cilantro, but if the oil is so potent, and not to mention, do not put that in food. Did I tell you about the story of me adding it into salsa and it run like 3 batches full?
Oh, no.
I could not dilute it, but it's so powerful. But something that I mentioned earlier, if you wouldn't maybe hit as far as talking about like how that works alongside with the immune system, that we had kind of mentioned earlier, and how this is just so amazing beyond just like, hey, these benefits and the properties, but how does it work with the body, not against the body?
So it's okay. So essential oils, we're talking authentic oils. We're not talking about the oils that you get at like the health food store. You can buy oils at the gas station, Costco, Target, and those are all very heavily adulterated, very synthetic essential oils. So when you're using an oil, make sure it's authentic. Make sure there's testing that's public knowledge. We love doTERRA. We love using that company. They're one of the highest quality in the world. But how an authentic oil works is, so 3 drops is a therapeutic dose. When we put it on our skin or ingest the oil, within 30 seconds, the molecules, like the aroma is the side effect of oils. So like use an oil for your perfume, for your cologne, diffuse what you like to smell, but also why we use them and why they're so effective for supporting different organ systems in our bodies, because of the chemistry, because of the molecules. And within 30 seconds of ingesting or using an oil topically, the molecules are in our bloodstream, and then they're delivered within 5 minutes to every cell in our body. So going back to the story of my nephew, the reason why the oils were so much more powerful for him was essential oil molecules are very, very small, and they're able to get into our nervous system. They're able to cross the blood-brain barrier, which the blood-brain barrier is like the tightest grouping of cells in your circulatory system. It protects a lot of damaging things to enter your brain and nerve system and spinal canal. But bacteria and essential oil molecules are very, very small. So they're able to cross freely. And when we're under attack, or when we're exposed to any type of threat and we start to have symptoms, one of the fastest, one of the easiest things to do, and one of the most effective, is to start using the proper essential oils, because within 5 minutes, those molecules are literally in every cell in our body. And they've done a lot of studies on whether, like, ingesting oils and whether or not they because they're very powerful, they're very potent, whether they cause any type of damage or kill off some of the good flora in our gut. And out of all the oils that they've studied, there's not one that shows that it damages the healthy gut flora. And a lot of research shows that the oils actually help feed some of the healthy flora in our gut. And we know like 80% of our immune system comes from the gut. Serotonin is made in the gut. So if we're having any emotional issues too, like the gut is a really good place to start with. So we're getting like so many different benefits from using just one oil. So if we're using, like, let's just go to Cassia. If you're using Cassia to support your immune system, Cassia is also a very cleansing oil for your liver, for your kidneys. It's emotionally uplifting oil. So we're getting all these added benefits from using it in a specific way, like for supporting our immune system in that way. But there's so many more benefits that we're experiencing. So they're just very, very all-encompassing when it comes to supporting the health and also the emotional health of our body. So they're amazing.
So you had mentioned the oils, the 5 oils that you put on your feet. Is that something that you do every day, or just during the times when we need it most for the immune support?
So we're doing that like 3 or 4 times a week right now. And then if somebody in our family, and this is, like I said, this is nothing new regarding the pandemic. This is just what we do every year. But if somebody's experiencing symptoms, then we'll do it. Like you start to get a fever or whatever the symptoms of having the flu are, then we'll increase it to 3 times a day, because the effects of the oils only last about 4 hours before our liver metabolizes the molecules. So when you're treating something with essential oil, you reapply every 4 hours until whatever that thing is gone. Or if it's more of like a lifelong chronic condition, then that's going to be 3 times a day is a really good protocol to use for your life. So we use them, you can use them, like, say, vitalistically. So we like to use them for just health purposes and prevention, and that's like once a day, a couple of times a week. Or when you're experiencing symptoms or having challenges and concerns and problems, then you're going to increase it to 3 times a day.
Great information. And so beyond putting that on your skin, you had mentioned something about diffusing.
Yeah. Diffusing. So like right now in the winter, there's we always diffuse, well, in my office right here, got the diffuser right on the desk, but I'm always diffusing. I just diffuse like the same oils for a couple months until those oils are gone, and then I'll change it up. So like right now in the thick of the winter, which we're coming into spring now, but we have this pandemic. So one of the things that we're diffusing is oils to keep the airways open, and the oils for emotional health. So because man, if you're a mother, I know like Krista is homeschooling, but if you're a mother who's not used to homeschooling, you got thrust into homeschooling, which is like all the mothers and a lot of the fathers across the country right now, it can be very, very stressful. And I've talked to some moms who just like quit school this year, and they're like, no, we're not going to participate because my child does not learn in front of a computer. Like that's not their learning style. So some have just completely quit, which is fine. But so right now what we're diffusing is frankincense, because frankincense, again, it's one of the best oils, one of my favorite oils. But for emotional health, frankincense is very balancing, very grounding. And so I love diffusing that. Cardamom and Siberian fir both have, well, Siberian fir has a molecule called boryl acetate that is very, it basically relaxes the stress of your nervous system. So when you're agitated, when you're anxious, when you're just like kind of overwired, diffusing Siberian fir is really calming to the nervous system, and it has a great aroma as well. And then cardamom and eucalyptus have a molecule called eucalyptol or 1,8-cineol, and that molecule opens up and clears our airways. So if we have any type of congestion in our sinuses and our airways, then cardamom and eucalyptus are 2 great oils to diffuse. And then the last one is rosemary, because I just love the aroma of rosemary, but rosemary has some boryl acetate too. So when we're stressed out, when we're feeling agitated, rosemary is another one. So we do frankincense, cardamom, rosemary, Siberian fir, and eucalyptus. So that's what we're diffusing a lot right now. And those 5 oils, we usually do like 5 drops of each in a diffuser, and then just let the diffuser run for like 10 or 12 hours.
That's what I got going on right here. It's On Guard, and cardamom is all I got in there right now, just because that's all I had left.
That's awesome. Yeah, On Guard. On Guard is another really, obviously it's one of the staples. It's one of the original ones of our lineup, but that has clove and rosemary and eucalyptus, wild orange, and cinnamon. And that's a wonderful, you could just diffuse that and use that daily for protection also.
Yeah, that's one of the oils for me personally. I have just gotten pretty much starting, I guess, in September and almost all the way through February is just a daily oil for me.
Yeah.
And in the office, we often will diffuse On Guard during the summer months, along with a few that you had actually mentioned. Eucalyptus is, I think, just across the board one that we just often love to use. And then a lavender inside of our adjustment tables for the calming effect. Siberian fir is one I have at my house, and admittedly I have never used. So that's some valuable information that I just learned there.
Yeah, if you add it to lavender, because lavender obviously very calming too, but you add Siberian fir and lavender like in your adjusting rooms or at home with the girls, like it's a beautiful combination.
So you had hit on some of the emotional components, and I know we had talked about some of the immune oils that you put on your skin, and even the oils right now mostly for calming. And you had touched base on the stress, and we really are, and I'm seeing this just more than ever, the chronic stress response that people are starting to experience. Like we never have a shut off from the fight or flight response, and we're in chronic stress.
Yeah.
And to me, like I feel like almost emotional component, not to mention being in chronic sympathetic fight or flight stress mode dampens and weakens our immune system, is like, how do we share some amazing information on emotional health through this pandemic? And obviously you shared the diffusion, and that's the top oils you would use right now for emotional health in as far as in the air.
Yeah, can I share my screen here? I'm gonna show this one slide.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is for emotional health. This is gonna be like really the number one oil that you're gonna use. So if this blend specifically, it's called Adaptive, and it's our calming blend, but this is a newer blend. We have two other blends that are for like when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling depressed, when you're just not good emotionally. And this blend specifically is really, really powerful. This was just released, and they did a handful of studies before releasing it to make sure they got the blend correct so that it was very predictable, and we did get really good results. And one of my favorite stories behind this one is my friend Beth Barnes. She's a chiropractor in St. Louis, and her boyfriend James was on this antidepressant for like 6 years, and he'd been working with his doctor multiple times to get off of it. And every time he started to get off of it, he had terrible withdrawal symptoms, and so he would go back on the drug. And that's one of the problems with antidepressants and anti-anxiety drugs, is the withdrawal symptoms a lot of times are just horrendous trying to get off of them. So finally, he came to one of the classes. We started talking about Adaptive, and after the class, he came up and he's like, "Hey, Jeff, this has been what's going on. Do you think that oil will help?" I'm like, "Yes, it'll help. Try it. Talk to your doctor. Go through a plan to start weaning off again." So he went back to his doctor. He said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to try to use this oil. Can you help me get off this drug?" And he was off of it in 1 week. And
Wow.
and one of the reasons why this blend is so powerful is it has all these different oils in it: copaiba, wild orange, rosemary, neroli, magnolia, lavender, sweet gum, and spearmint. And all of these oils are powerful in their own regard, but the combination of all of them, because of the primary molecules in each of these oils, hits different aspects of our brain chemistry when these molecules cross the blood-brain barrier. So some of these molecules help counteract the withdrawal symptoms of coming off of these. Some of these molecules, like you see bornyl acetate again in rosemary, is very relaxing and very calming to the nervous system. Linalool, which is in magnolia and lavender, and also neroli, stimulates GABA receptors, which is a neurotransmitter in our brain that's very, very calming. So when we put the combination together and we start using an oil like Adaptive, diffusing it, also using it topically as your perfume or cologne throughout the day, you start to see really powerful benefits emotionally from using this blend and using this oil. So this is one that's I'm recommending so frequently right now, because so many people are in a state of uncertainty with their work, their jobs, their family life, and there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of people who are really struggling right now, and with emotional problems, this is a wonderful, wonderful oil to start adding and start using, because it just makes you feel so much better.
And how would they take this? Is it the therapeutic dose? Is this one time a day?
Yeah, 3 drops at least one time a day. But like right now, we're using a lot of this too. So multiple times a day. Have it like it's in my truck. It's in Megan's car. It's on my desk. It's on my nightstand. So like anytime you're having these types of feelings, you can just put some on.
And you just said something that I felt was very powerful that you had spoken into me several years ago. You just said you have an oil in your truck. You have probably one in your bathroom, in your nightstand. And I think when I have had people come over like, "Man, you have a lot of oils." And the truth is I do. And also it's because I always want to make sure I have a backup to replace the one in. And so after you had came over to my house and stayed when you did our class, I have one in my bathroom. I have some in my stand, and having it convenient and where you need is critical when, in my opinion, what I learned from you for the use of the oils, because if it's in one spot in this corner that you never see it, you're never going to use it. And the other thing I learned from you is consistency is very important too with the oils. And I think a lot of folks who've quote used oils and they put on once and said it didn't work. Like adaptive, I think would be one of those that you have to be consistent in the scenario, especially you'd mentioned with the gentleman. It's not something that you can do periodically, you know, necessarily, but I will say there is that immediate gratification a lot of times taking the oil too. I don't want to downplay that, but I thought that was something important that you said that I felt like I wanted to share that's helped me out immensely. And now like I find myself using them a lot more consistent now.
That's awesome. Yeah. A lot of times, like when I go places and teaching classes all over and staying with you guys, like part of that is selfishly also, because I'm like, where's your oils? Like, why, like, I want to I don't want to unpack mine. Like, where are your oils?
Yeah.
But yeah, consistency is huge. Having them available to use, especially with children, because if they're up in a medicine cabinet somewhere, your kids aren't going to use them. You know, so it's important to have them available for sure.
100%. And speaking of that, I love the new kids blends that have coming out. And Brinley, you know, she's more than ever. I don't know if just because she's used to ask for her oils all the time. And now it's like, it's funny when, and something's going on. She's like, let me put some oil on you. And talking to her little dolls, you know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cutest thing. Look, we're definitely coming tight for time today. And I just want to make sure that there's any last minute things that you just feel like that everyone would need to hear that you'd like to share. And then I want to ask you a final question about what you guys are doing for fun.
All right. So yeah, the very last thing, and I was thinking about this the other day, especially right now, is to get in, like one of the most important things for us is a morning routine. So like a morning routine is so critical. Like we've learned that for years from our coaches through being part of Maximized Living. But that was like one of the first things that we learned. But for people that don't have a morning routine, like this is a great time to get into the habit of getting into morning routine, especially during this pandemic time when your whole lifestyle has been turned upside down. So a healthy morning routine, what you read, your self-care, your oils, your nutrition, your exercise, all of that, like get it done in the morning. And then that'll set you up to really transform your life in a big way.
What great advice. To be honest, I never even thought about that. And I want to hit on that because I know you and I have a lot of the same mentors and training in that area. And maybe you would share your morning routine. And a prime example of what Jeff had just said is exactly what I want to share with you, what I did this morning before 5 a.m., I might add. First and foremost, it required a French roast brewed coffee. Second, as I pull up my Bible app on my phone, and I'm usually in some devotion and or chapter of the Bible, and whatever that is for anyone listening, you know, that grounds you, that you're connected to your Creator, and then secondary, I always reaffirm affirmations and goals, and just remind myself really what God tells me who I am or who I am. And then our goal is like, you know, yes, we are shut down right now. And Jeff and I was just talking about like business is not as usual. You know, we're open, it's different, it's stressful, but I still know that there's a plan and we have a mission and goal for all of our town, our patients. And I just want to make sure that I know that that's still going to happen. And, you know, nothing easy has ultimately ever come from bowing down from something like this and not working hard. And, you know, admittedly, I shared this on several interviews later that I was the first, like literally was almost crying and like distress and not really knowing what to happen, waking up every day and just wondering if we were going to be essential business, if we were going to be open, and just reaffirming my goals. And I know that was one of the things that we both learned. And then finally, is I didn't have much time, so I did a surge exercise, and it took me a whopping 20 minutes total from the stretch to my surge. And yeah, it was running in place. It was nothing sexy today, But I just told myself that I cannot afford to not do that, even though I was running a little time since I had some training this morning in my office at 7. And so I just want to kind of share that's what I do. And, I think ultimately, and I'd love to hear what your routine would look like here before we leave. But I think that foundationally, it kind of has to start in those kind of pillars in some way, shape, or form. And I'd love to hear your routine.
Yeah, for sure. Same thing, man. Like one of the first things is go make a coffee. And well, actually the very first thing I do is have a 8-ounce glass of water on my nightstand, put my citrus, 3 drops, right now it's lemon, 3 drops of lemon in the water, and drink that before I even get out of bed. And then, cause that's very cleansing to the body and also energizing. So that's the first thing. Then go downstairs, make coffee, read the Bible, whatever chapter I'm in right now. I'm reading John through our Bible study. And then after that, I do my head weights in front of a red light therapy. And then I'll do my workout, which is usually 20, 30 minutes. Same with you. Like today I rode the Peloton did a 20-minute ride. And then after this, then I'll go into the sauna and do some more reading. I'm just reading fiction books right now outside of the Bible because I love fiction books right now. So I'm just enjoying reading in the sauna. Because one of the things with protecting yourself, if you have access to a sauna, then it's great. If you don't, just get out in the heat, because a lot of the studies show that, especially this virus particularly, but a lot of viruses cannot handle heat. That's why our body produces a fever to kill it. So we always do things to heat up our body. So that's like just a basic little routine that we do.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I'm grateful for your time, and I know I've already probably taken advantage of your time having you here today. And, as we close out, I personally am just trying to find ways to keep my family busy at home and over the weekends. And just curious to know, what are you guys doing for fun during this unusual times, if you will?
So we have 3 dogs. We have a Saint Bernard, a Lab, and a Bulldog. So it's like when we're walking on the street, people are like, "Is this a zoo coming?" But we've been going on lots of walks. My 22-month-old daughter, she calls them doggy walks. We go on multiple doggy walks a day, and so that's what we've been doing, to get outside. And then now that it's nicer weather, just working in the yard and doing things outside mostly. Just can only stay cooped up inside so much. So that's what we're doing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, Dr. Jess, seriously, thank you so much for your time. And what I will do is post a link for those of you that don't have access to good quality oils that Dr. Jeff had mentioned. And I'll make sure I gather any information from you to reach out to me. And I'm sure Dr. Jeff wouldn't have a problem sharing any information to get connected with him, to contact him. And I'll make sure that's in the links. The rest of you have a wonderful, blessed day. And thanks for joining us. Take care, buddy.